Hello, I'm Jackson.
And I'm Debbie Jansen.
And we are two motormouth mama bears willing to discuss current events with honesty and boldness.
Oh, we are truth warriors. No lie is too big and no deception too small.
And we are sticking to the truth.
Yes, we are. Merry Christmas, Julie. I love the holidays. I love everything about it, even the busy, crazy, loud, rushing traditions, but especially the food.
Oh, my word.
Today I got my velour on. I got my nativity in the back. What do you think?
Oh, well, I've got my red sparkles on. I mean, we are, jingle and bell. We are ready. Yes, isn't this the best time of year? I just finished making 8 pans of my famous Christmas toffee. It only has 4 ingredients: saltines, butter, sugar, and chocolate chips. My little girl bagged up about 6 bags for her teachers this morning, where I'm going to send the kids out to deliver up and down the streets of the neighborhood. 'Tis the season. There is a lot.
It is. And I make.
Go ahead.
Good. No, I'm going to have to get on your Christmas list to get a bag of that. I tell you.
I'm bringing you a bag.
And I will have to bring you one. I make a thing that I actually copied from a store down in Amish country. And I think it's called Crispy Christmas or something by them. But my daughter, she renamed it. It's this sweet, salty, it's a salty popcornish type thing, only it's the puffs like you get in the store. And we put white chocolate on it and then sprinkles on it. And she said, Mom, this is not crispy Christmas. This is Christmas crack. I can't stop eating it.
That's the problem with those salty, savory, sweet things. They are addictive. But they're fun.
Yes, they are. Oh, my goodness.
We only make them, a few times a year. I mean, just at the Christmas season. Otherwise.
Yeah. That's me too. My son-in-law asked for it for his birthday. I said, I can't make it till Christmas.
There you go. I love your nativity in the back there.
Oh, thank you. My sweet mother-in-law made that. It's ceramic. And it's just a few pieces that she made, but they are beautiful. And Christmas is when you remember a lot of good memories. And Ron and I downstairs, I would love to have shown all of our listeners that, but across my piano, we have an 18-piece set that Ron and I made. It's ceramic, it's all white, and it's got gold leaf trim on it, and it's just beautiful.
A nativity set.
Yeah, but I can't bring all of that here to my camera. Maybe I'll take the camera down, take some pictures at some point. But we love it because we made it together. And then he made this creche out of some wood. I think that was from his mom's farm. So what do you put out that's really sentimental?
I mean, Jesus is the reason, right, for the season. So I've got my little right over there. You can't probably see it, but a little nativity we got from Bulgaria. Can't see it. But so I just a couple of weeks ago, we were in Colonial Williamsburg, where all that great history took place, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson. So I always pick up a few little carolers from Colonial Williamsburg. And I bought a flickering lamp. You can't see it flickering, but I just, that little flickering lamp of the street carolers makes me so happy. And then I bought two little children carolers. And my husband's black, so I always have to get a black and a white of everything just to, to represent our colorful family. But, my husband, he's a character. Like every couple days, I'm getting these small little packages in the mail. And he is buying ornaments of, who do you think that is? So we got the dancing.
I love it.
And then we got the dancing Donald Trump in a Christmas suit. And then we got the electoral college ornament.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And the fight ornament. I was like,
I
oh,
love
boy.
it. I love
So
it.
our Christmas tree, I hope people, because I do live in Washington, D.C., don't look too hard at our tree because it's turning into a slight political celebration, the new incoming. So those are just some fun new little pieces, but always we want to highlight, of course,
Of course.
the
Of course.
reason.
And I love that. Oh, I love having fun. Christmas is a time, at least for our family, of lots of fun. We sit around the table and we tell funny stories about them being kids and what they were doing. And yeah, it can get really hysterical. If you don't watch it, you'll snarf your gravy, You have to, because we're laughing a lot. And our family has had some wonderful Christmas times, just like I'm sure you've had.
Yeah.
But we've also had some difficult times.
Mm.
We were opening presents on Christmas morning in 1993, and the phone rang, and it was Ron's brother. And instead of a Christmas greeting, Ron's eyes filled with tears. His beloved, healthy father had passed away.
Oh.
When he told us, all of us burst into tears. We couldn't believe it.
Mm.
We awkwardly finished opening the presents, then rushed to pack. Ron flew to Iowa and we drove out. Tough times.
Mm.
And I know there's a lot of people in our audience that are having tough times. Yet for us, there was an answer to our sorrow. And that's what I want to talk about today. There's an answer to every problem you have, and I have, and our listeners have. In fact, everyone in the world can tap into the answer to their problems. All the problems we talk about on this podcast can be solved, and I'll explain that in a little bit. But I want you to know I believe there's always an answer to our problems. Life always has problems. You can't get away from it. Money won't protect you, prestige won't protect you. There's no seclusion of any kind that will protect you from problems. No one gets out of this life scot-free. It just doesn't happen. Everyone has problems of some sort. You are not different because you're having problems. At Christmas, I'm reminded of biblical times. And oh man, you would think with Jesus being around in biblical times that things would have been better. But they were just as bad, if not worse, than America is today. They were just as violent, mean, and aggressive. They were divided. We haven't learned much or made a lot of progress since then, have we? While Judas, one of the disciples, took his own life, the other 11 men that followed Jesus were absolutely destroyed when he was crucified. You talk about violence going on at that time. That was the worst. They were scared. Their doubts and longings, their faith and their hopes, their fears and disappointment, all their emotions swirled around them and broke their hearts. What now? They said. Can you imagine all the promises Jesus made? And then he's crucified? What now? Have you ever been there? Have you ever felt so hopeless you could hardly breathe? Can you imagine how they felt? And yet, right in the middle of hopelessness, right in the middle of that horrible time, then came Jesus. He walked in the room, stood in their midst, and suddenly the whole world was different. He was there. He was alive. He had all the answers and all the solutions to their problems. He was himself the hope and answers for the future. Now, Julene, you and I are Christians, and yet we are doing a podcast about our political and social world. We can offer a lot of solutions and we can get to the truth about our world, and we stick to the truth. But at this time of the year, I wonder how much can we do ourselves to help this crazy world we live in? We can offer suggestions. We can talk about the lies and we can say, oh, we need to do this or that person needs to do that. But in reality, the joy and peace and the hope of Christmas is that once Christmas is over, life will be different. And so many times it's not for some people. I don't want just a present on Christmas. I want a present that will last all year long, a present that will last my entire life. How about you, Julie?
That's thought-provoking, isn't it? You know, Christmas with all its beautiful trappings, you know, that lasts about 30 days, maybe a couple weeks, with all the, you know, gifts and the music and the treats and the concerts. We're taking our kids up to New York City to see the Rockettes Christmas Spectacular, all the Netflix Christmas movies. I think Hot Frosty is like all the rage. All the young kids, all the young girls are watching Hot Frosty. It's silliness, but you know, all those things really are, Debbie, they're kind of short-term fixes, right? Short-term fun.
Yes.
But you know, what you have behind you is the true reason for the season. And it's not even so much the little wee babe, I think, in the manger, but it's what he went on to become and what he can do for us now. And that truly is the gift that keeps giving your entire life, when you understand who he is and the role that he can play in your life, clear on till you shoot on over and meet him again someday, you know, and that's powerful.
That is very powerful, Julene. Thank you so much for that. So today, how about we take some of America's most difficult, sad, depressing, urgent problems, and let's see what the answers might be.
Let's do it.
I think we can do it quickly if we try, and we're going to make a game out of it. It's like the lightning round of problems here. You ready?
Let's go for it.
All right. Yesterday, I cried because a 15-year-old walked into a school and killed a teacher and a classmate while wounding 6 other children. The gun wasn't the problem. She was distraught in some way, or angry or depressed enough that she thought taking another life would ease her pain. Now, we haven't found out exactly what some of those parameters are, but instead of easing her pain, she finished by taking her own life. And she didn't solve the problem or anything else that might be a problem. I've discovered over 200 reasons for violence in our society. Everyone screams about gun control, and yet people are often desensitized and don't want to talk about the real issues. There are 200 issues that involve a person's heart, how they feel, how they respond to relationships, who has hurt them. We need to handle those issues, and yet there will be one issue that will remain. The real solid answer to this problem is a heart transplant. The heart has to change so the mind can accept a new attitude, a forgiveness, an acceptance, and a plan for the future. A heart transplant happens through work and ends with one thing that helps it just blossom. You can do the work and you may be okay, but when the Christ child shows up, everything changes. The other answers are important, but like icing on the cake, the answer is the Christ child.
Debbie, that's so beautiful. I mean, he's the answer, right? And it began in a stable, right? But it really culminated, don't you think, Deb, at the tomb, where on that third morn, he rose again and he lives. And just that knowledge, I think, you know, discouragement and depression and anger and violence, it shouldn't have any place in our hearts or in our vocabulary, knowing that he lives. And, you know, through him, there is hope and healing, and under his wings, what can we not do? You know, I mean, he walked from that tomb like a boss 3 days after his, you know, he was put in there stone cold dead. And so if we can, lean to him and follow him, what can we not do with him by our side?
Exactly, exactly. I think that's great. Okay, I'll tackle another one. Here we go. Abortions are a big issue in America, according to studies by the Guttmacher Institute or Guttmarcher. I'm not sure how you say that. But anyway, an institute. I couldn't believe this when I looked it up. Only 1 to 3% of abortions are performed for medical reasons. 1 to 3%. The majority of abortions are performed for social and economic reasons, which account for over 95% of all abortions. In 2023, over 1 million abortions were completed. We are on target to murder that many precious little babes this year as well. When I think of abortion, I think of all the lives that will never be. I think of all the men and women who could have made discoveries that would have changed our world. I always think that God's looking down when people pray, we just need a solution for cancer, Lord. And he's looking down and saying, I sent you 3 people that have that and you killed them. Think of all the lives that never had a chance. What have we taught our living children? We've taught them that life isn't precious. It doesn't matter. Like my first example, the teen that killed her classmates, she didn't believe that life was precious. Why? She probably felt that we all are just a glob of cells. She thought that ending a life was as unimportant as she felt her own life was, that life was hopeless, so let's just all die. But Mary, the mother of Jesus, she was in a tough spot. She could have been stoned or put away because she was pregnant out of marriage. You couldn't do that back then. Yet she trusted God and she gave life. And the life she gave changed the world forever. Jesus Christ has changed billions, billions, and billions of people. I know a young girl that was raped last year. She refused to concentrate on the violence, and instead she gave the product of violence a chance. She believed in her baby. She saw him as an innocent baby, and she gave him life. And I've seen pictures, and I've held him. He is a beautiful little boy. He's starting to walk and talk, and he has a bright future. She turned pain and sorrow into joy. How? The answer is the Christ child or the Christ adult or Jesus Christ. That's the answer.
What a hope-filled story, Deb. I just got back from Puerto Rico, Deb, and I went with a few girlfriends. One of my girlfriends has a home there, and a girls' trip sounded really good in August, but when it came time to actually leave in December, it was like a terrible idea. There was so much going on. But as we sat on the beach, don't cry for me, and we talked about life, they shared stories of young people that they had known that were sexually abused and molested as a child, and what it did for them as they went into teenagehood and adulthood. And one of my friends told a good girlfriend that we know, her daughter was sexually abused by her father, who's now the ex-husband of this friend, when she was 3 years old. And now she's a teenager, and that abuse is manifesting with her sexual identity now. She is in the process of transitioning to a boy. She's even contemplating having her breasts removed. But then my other friend shared a story of someone that she loves very deeply that was also, it was a male. He was sexually abused by some babysitters. And that abuse didn't come out until he was an adult, and he began to act out sexually with other women and infidelity. But they're a Christian family, and he turned to God, and his wife turned to God. They turned to God together, and through trusted therapies and through a forgiving and compassionate spouse, they worked through those issues and now have a beautiful family, a strong marriage, thriving children. And so, it was the Christ child. It was the Savior that rooted them in hope when it was a really
Yes.
dark time, and got them through that. And they're on the other side of it now, blessing people's lives and sharing their experience of recovery of sexual abuse as a child. And so, anyways, how about you?
Oh, Julene, thank you for that story. That's wonderful. And it made me think of two people, no, four people. I'll stop counting now
Yeah.
that I know that have had those kind of sexual issues come
Yeah.
up in their own life. But as Christians, in fact, one of them was kind of where you said this young man was. He was higher in the church and was very trusted by other people. And yet he said these desires kept coming to him about other men.
Yeah.
And what do I do with these? And this is why the counseling has to be just right, because he himself was a counselor, and he said, I started working on myself. I started looking up scriptures. I started praying. I started fasting about it. And he said, within a year, they went away and I am fine.
Yeah.
There is a power in the Christian faith that if you tap into that, it changes everything. Would you agree?
Oh, I just think of all those that are suffering from depression and anxiety and like debilitating like bipolarism. I had a sister for almost 10 years, a decade, that was diagnosed as bipolar, and the doctors keep giving her more drugs, which even incapacitated her more. Her husband even tried radical like electric shock therapy on my sis. Nothing worked, and she was married with 4 children. It was a devastating time,
oh
but
my goodness.
the family of faith. And even though she might not have been able to get out of bed, she always believed in the power of God. She always kept praying for a miracle. And about 4 or 5 years ago, God sent a miracle. He gave her cancer. And she will say, cancer saved my life because I began to realize every day was precious. They removed her breast, and through that experience, there was like hope and healing in her wings. And now I cannot even keep up with sis. She just sent me
Wow.
some pictures yesterday of her little cancer recovery group. They all got together for a Christmas party. It was a little potluck, and they had such life and vitality in their little faces in this picture. And I'll just never forget her saying, I may have had cancer, but cancer didn't get me. It saved me. And she
How
believes it was
about
the
that?
miracle that God sent to her to wake her up and to pull her out of that depression.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that story because I've had those kind of experiences, and I hear other Christians talking about you never know when a tragedy comes how God is going to help you through
Yeah.
that tragedy and change your life.
Yeah.
And it will. Oh, that's great. Well, let's do one more. This will be a quick one. Did you know that according to a new study, drug users in the United States spent approximately $100 billion annually over the past decade on illicit drugs? Think of all the problems drugs have caused our cities, businesses, and families. All the money that's been spent to handle the problems of drug users and the devastation of families and governments, and especially the cities where homeless people are on the streets and you can't walk past them, and the problems. And I feel sorry for them. They look so miserable. All of the chaos ends when people choose to get high on life rather than end their dreams with the sorrow and the pain of drugs. When they look to education, hard work, and the satisfaction of a job well done, things change because there's no time for drugs. When they choose to believe in their abilities rather than the destruction of drugs or the torture of being on the streets, it just looks so miserable. When they accept their life as is but they do the hard work to make it better. That's when the miracle begins. And it begins to grow, but it doesn't fully blossom and become something fantastic and big like the miracles we've already talked about until they trust a higher power to help them. That's when the dream blossoms into a beautiful, fantastic life. Yes, those are simplistic answers that will help, but how do we get to that major miracle? How can a drugged person get free and put their life together? The answer is the Christ child and the Savior.
It is, having a friend who just had an intervention with her son about 5 weeks ago, and how frightened she was to do this. She didn't know how he was going to respond. All the family flew in, and he was taken off to rehab, and he's back now. And some days he's angry, but a lot of days he's resigned that they're a family of faith too, and it is one day at a time, a walk with Christ. And I think all the people that have had to kind of take that step into the darkness, right?
Yeah,
And choose faith over fear. I mean, I think of our founding fathers, how they had to put everything on the line, their reputation, their sacred honors, their fortunes, their life, to sign that Declaration of Independence because of what they believed in, what this country stood for. And even our little pilgrims who left, their homelands in Europe,
yes,
and sailed into the deep, knowing that they had everything to lose, but they came anyways for the glory of God and the establishment of the Christian faith. And they chose faith over fear. They chose the Christ child. They chose the Savior of the universe. And it made all the difference, doesn't it, Deb? It makes
yes, Julene, that was wonderful. Thank you. And bringing up those pilgrims. Oh, what they must have gone through just to get here.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. But Christmas is an exciting time of anticipation and twinkling lights and laughter and love and singing and getting together and good food and relaxing and giggling children. And Christmas is also a time of reflection. It seems like it happens every year. A time to evaluate your strengths, your yearly successes, and your hopes for the future. We are sure you have a lot of plans. Julene and I pray that 2025 will be your best year ever. We hope that you will find all the joys and happiness that Christmas can bring. But if you are a little nervous, anxious, or worried, Julene and I want to encourage you that no matter what problem you have, the answer can be found in the Savior and in the Christ child. No one will love you more or believe in you more than Jesus Christ. Give him a chance, and that's no lie.
Debbie, that is so beautiful. And as we wrap up our last episode of the year, my last tip of 2024 would be so much along the lines of what you just expressed, as we're our sights are set on 2025, as we're anticipating some change with the new year, a switch in leadership for our country as President Trump will be inaugurated January 20th. And, you might be feeling some uncertainty or fear about the future as sweeping changes he's proposing. The government might look a little smaller. You might anticipate changes in jobs or finances or even relationships or your health. If we can remember, and Deb, I put the tip of the day on my Christmas card. I'm pulling my tip.
Yes, you did. I loved it.
That his name is the one that calms fears and that will seal our prayers and will help us win every one of our battles that we might experience moving forward. I can't think, can you, Deb, of a better companion for 2025? Someone told me, Julene, God plus one equals a super majority. He is the solution to
Yes,
every problem. We will always have a super majority if we have God by our side. So let him prevail. His name calms fears. It seals our prayers, and he helps us win every battle. How about you, Deb? What's your tip?
I love it. I love it. You're exactly right. Us plus God, we make a great team.
Yeah.
My tip, though, is a little bit more practical as you go to all those family gatherings. Ask questions. I know a lot of people talk about how, oh, it's not fun at family gatherings or we don't talk a lot. Well, your job this Christmas is to ask questions. When you meet with your family or friends, don't wait for them to approach you. Don't fall asleep in the chair or watch a movie in quiet. Instead, ask them questions that will cause them to talk about their hopes, their dreams, and something new they want to do in 2025. Then share your dreams with them. And you know what that's going to bring about? Be a good friend. And when you walk away with more memories than you ever thought possible. Because when you pay attention to other people, they will love it and they will pay attention to you. Thank you for being with us today. Subscribe to this podcast and join us again when we discuss fresh topics. You can ask a question or request that we dig into some lie by writing Debbie at debbiejansen.com. Thanks again to our producer, Ken Jansen. This is Debbie Jansen, and I'm sticking to the truth.
And I'm Jalene Jackson, and we hope you will keep sticking to the truth. Deb and I both want to wish you a beautiful and Merry Christmas. Take care.
Merry Christmas. Bye-bye.